I was 3 days away from marrying Amanda, my girlfriend of 3 years. The woman I believed was my soulmate. I had just picked up my custom tuxedo when I decided to surprise her at her favorite restaurant, where she was having lunch with her friends. As I approached their table, I overheard Amanda laughing. "He is such a rich simp. 3 years of playing the perfect girlfriend, and now I have got him locked down. Once we are married, half of everything is mine." My heart stopped. The woman I loved was bragging about trapping me for my money. Before I tell you how I exposed my future wife and called off our $100,000 wedding, let me know where you are watching from and hit subscribe if you have ever had your trust betrayed by someone you loved. I still remember the day I met Amanda. It was at a tech conference in San Francisco 3 years ago. I was 32, a successful software engineer at a major tech company, making just over $300,000 a year. I owned a luxury condo in Pacific Heights, drove a Tesla Model S, and had a healthy investment portfolio. But despite my financial success, my love life had been a series of disappointments. I was always too busy building my career to focus on relationships. Then, Amanda walked into the conference room. She was 29, stunningly beautiful, with long auburn hair and green eyes that seemed to sparkle with intelligence. She worked in marketing for a competing tech firm, and when she asked a particularly insightful question during my presentation, I was instantly intrigued. I gathered my courage and approached her during the networking hour. Our conversation flowed effortlessly as we discussed industry trends, our career paths, and shared interests. When I asked for her number, she gave it with a smile that made my heart race. Our first date was at an upscale sushi restaurant overlooking the bay. I was captivated by her stories, her ambition, and the way she seemed genuinely interested in everything about me. "I have never met anyone like you, Luke," she told me that night. "Most guys in tech are so one-dimensional. You actually care about more than just coding and stock options." That comment made me feel special, seen in a way I had not experienced before. The following weeks were a whirlwind of perfect dates. We went hiking in Muir Woods, attended jazz concerts, and spent long nights talking about our dreams. Everything about our relationship felt too good to be true, but I was too enamored to question it. As months passed, our relationship deepened. I introduced Amanda to my parents, who lived in Seattle. They were initially cautious, my mother particularly so, but Amanda won them over with thoughtful gifts and attentive conversation. I met her family too, a middle-class household in Sacramento where her father worked as an accountant and her mother as a high school teacher. They welcomed me warmly, and I felt like I had found my place. For our 1-year anniversary, I surprised Amanda with a trip to Hawaii. We stayed at the Four Seasons on Maui, where I spent over $15,000 for a week of luxury. Amanda was thrilled, taking countless photos for her Instagram and raving about how perfect everything was. When I gave her a pair of diamond earrings on our final night, she cried and told me she had never been so happy. "You are too good to me, Luke," she whispered. "I do not deserve you." I dismissed her words, assuring her that she deserved everything and more. Looking back, perhaps those tears were not entirely from joy, but from the realization of how easily she could manipulate me. As our second year together progressed, we took more extravagant trips. Paris in the spring, where we stayed at the Ritz. A summer vacation touring Italy with private guides and Michelin-starred restaurants every night. I never thought twice about covering all expenses. Amanda always had reasons why she could not contribute financially. Her marketing salary was modest compared to mine. She had student loans to pay off. She was helping her younger brother with college expenses. I believed every excuse because I wanted to. When my best friend Justin expressed concern about how one-sided our financial relationship seemed, I defended Amanda fiercely. "You do not understand," I told him over beers one night. "She brings so much to my life. Money is just money." Justin shook his head. "Just be careful, man. Something feels off. She always has the newest designer bags, but can never chip in for dinner." I dismissed his concerns as jealousy. My other close friend David tried to warn me too, pointing out how Amanda's affection seemed directly proportional to how much I spent on her. But I was blind to these red flags, convinced that what we had was real. For her 30th birthday, I bought Amanda a brand new Range Rover with a big red bow. The look of calculation that briefly crossed her face before she squealed with delight should have alarmed me, but I interpreted it as surprise. When I proposed 6 months ago, with a $100,000 custom engagement ring, Amanda cried those same tears I had seen in Hawaii. She said yes immediately, and we began planning an extravagant wedding at the Fairmont Hotel with a budget that quickly ballooned to over $100,000. There were signs I ignored throughout our relationship. How Amanda would grow cold and distant if I suggested a budget-friendly date night. The mysterious shopping bags that appeared in our apartment despite her claims of financial struggle. The way her phone was always face down and locked with a password she never shared. How she always found excuses to avoid moving in together before the wedding, claiming traditional values, even though nothing else about our relationship was traditional. I brushed aside all doubts, because I was in love with the idea of us. The successful tech engineer and his beautiful, charming wife. I envisioned children, family vacations, growing old together. I never imagined I was just another mark in an elaborate con game. Until that fateful day at La Petite Maison, an upscale French restaurant where Amanda was having lunch with her two closest friends, Jessica and Taylor. I arrived 20 minutes early to surprise her with the news that our honeymoon villa in the Maldives had been upgraded to a premium overwater bungalow. The hostess seated me at the bar while I waited, which had a partial view of the restaurant. That is when I spotted Amanda and her friends in a corner booth. They had not seen me enter, and they were engrossed in conversation, Amanda animatedly talking, while the others leaned in. Thinking I might surprise them, I moved closer, staying behind a decorative column. "The prenup is the only hurdle left," I heard Amanda say, swirling her champagne. "But he is so lovesick, I can talk him out of it. His lawyer keeps insisting. But I can make Luke see that it means I do not trust him." Jessica laughed. The classic reverse psychology. Men are so easy to manipulate. 3 years is the longest con I have ever run. Amanda continued, her voice carrying just enough for me to hear clearly. But the payoff is worth it. We are talking millions when you factor in his stock options and property. "What about the actual marriage part?" Taylor asked. "Are you really going to sleep with this simp for years?" Amanda snorted. "Please, once I have a baby, I will have legitimate access to his money forever. Child support and alimony in California are no joke. And no judge will care that I never loved him." I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. The world seemed to tilt as I gripped the edge of the bar to steady myself. The bartender asked if I was okay, but I could barely nod as I laid down cash for my untouched drink and walked out on shaky legs. Amanda and her friends never saw me. In my car, I sat with the engine off, trying to process what I had just heard. The woman I loved, who I thought loved me, had been playing me for 3 years. Every kiss, every intimate moment, every whispered, "I love you," had been a calculated move in a long con. I felt physically ill. I called Justin, my voice barely steady enough to form words. "Dude, are you drunk?" he asked when I struggled to explain. "I wish I was," I replied. "Amanda has been using me. I just heard her bragging about it to her friends. She called me a rich simp she was trapping." The silence on the other end lasted several seconds before Justin spoke again. "I am so sorry, Luke. I knew something was wrong, but not this. What are you going to do? I do not know. I need to be sure. I need proof before I confront her." That afternoon, instead of returning to work, I visited Frank Thompson, a private investigator a colleague had used during his divorce. Frank was a former police detective, around 60, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. He listened without interruption as I explained the situation, occasionally making notes. "This happens more than you would think," he told me when I finished. "If what you heard is accurate, there will be other evidence. Nothing stays completely hidden." I paid Frank a $5,000 retainer to begin investigating Amanda immediately. The irony of spending more money to confirm I was being conned was not lost on me. While waiting for Frank's findings, I maintained a facade of normalcy. Each time Amanda kissed me or talked about our future, bile rose in my throat. The woman I had loved was a stranger wearing a familiar face. 3 days later, Frank called with his initial findings. Your fiancée has been in regular contact with a man named Brian Walsh. They meet at a hotel in Oakland twice a month, always on days she tells you she is visiting her sister in Sacramento. He sent me photographs showing Amanda entering the Grand Lake Hotel, followed an hour later by a tall, dark-haired man. More damning were the pictures of them kissing in the parking lot before departing separately. Brian is her ex-boyfriend, Frank explained. Based on social media analysis, they never actually broke up. They have been together for over 5 years. The revelation staggered me. Amanda had told me she had been single for almost a year before meeting me, having ended things with a man who couldn't commit. Apparently, Brian had been waiting in the wings all along, possibly even helping plan the con. Frank's investigation uncovered more. Amanda had 2 previous relationships with wealthy men that followed the same pattern as ours. She dated them for about a year, extracted expensive gifts and trips, then manufactured arguments to end things before marriage became an expectation. I was apparently the biggest fish she had hooked, worth the extended 3-year investment. I needed to hear the truth from someone in Amanda's circle. I arranged a coincidental meeting with Taylor at a coffee shop she frequented. Taylor was the newest addition to Amanda's friend group and seemed the most uncomfortable during the conversation I had overheard. "Luke, what a surprise," she said when I approached her table with my coffee. Getting a caffeine fix before the big day, I forced a smile and sat down. Just needed to clear my head. Wedding planning is intense. Taylor nodded sympathetically, and I steered the conversation toward Amanda, mentioning how lucky I felt to have found someone so perfect. Taylor shifted uncomfortably, guilt flashing across her face. "You know, relationships are complicated," she offered vaguely. I leaned in. "Taylor, I need to ask you something. Is Amanda being honest with me? About everything?" Her eyes widened and she looked away. "What do you mean, I think?" "You know what I mean. Please. If there is something I should know before I marry her." Taylor's resolve crumbled. Perhaps she had a conscience after all, or maybe she just could not maintain the lie face to face. "Luke, I am not comfortable with this conversation." Was Jim Atkins comfortable when Amanda took him for $50,000 in gifts before disappearing? Or Peter Holloway when she faked a pregnancy scare to extort money for an abortion that never happened? Taylor's shocked expression confirmed Frank's findings. "How did you? Does it matter? What matters is whether you are going to let her do this to someone else." After several tense moments, Taylor sighed. It was never supposed to go this far. Amanda and Brian have been planning this for years. They target successful men, and Amanda plays the perfect girlfriend while Brian stays in the background. Once they get what they want, they move on to the next mark. And Jessica is part of this too. Taylor nodded. She handles the social media angles, making sure Amanda's online presence matches whatever story she is telling her targets. They split the proceeds 3 ways. My hands trembled as I processed this information. "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because it is one thing to take some gifts from rich guys who are showing off, but your wedding is in 3 weeks. You seem like a good person, Luke. I was going to find a way to warn you anonymously." I had the confirmation I needed, but I was still missing concrete evidence that would hold up if Amanda tried to deny everything. That evidence fell into my lap unexpectedly the following day. Amanda had left her iPad at my apartment. When a notification chimed, I saw it was from an Instagram account I did not recognize. Curiosity and suspicion prompted me to check it. The device was already logged in, and what I found destroyed any lingering doubts. This secret account under the username Gold Digger Queen featured photos of Amanda with Brian, including several taken in my apartment when I was away on business trips. The captions were nauseating. "Another day, playing the loving girlfriend, while the simp is at work. The things I do for designer bags, planning the perfect wedding with the perfect idiot. Little does he know half of it will be mine soon." There were screenshots of my financial statements that she must have photographed without my knowledge, with calculations of her potential divorce settlement. Most disturbing was a detailed timeline of our relationship with notes on when to increase emotional manipulation and suggest more expensive gifts. The final pieces came together when I found a shared document between Amanda Bryan and Jessica outlining their business model for targeting wealthy men. They had an actual playbook for extracting maximum value from each mark, with me as their most ambitious project yet. There were even notes about which fertility tracking app Amanda was using to time getting pregnant immediately after the wedding to secure the bag. In a folder labeled Next Steps, I found a list of my assets they planned to liquidate after marriage, and evidence that Amanda had already taken out credit cards in my name, using personal information she had gathered over our years together. I sat in my living room, surrounded by printouts of everything I had discovered, feeling numb. The betrayal was so complete, so calculated, that it seemed almost unreal. This woman had spent 3 years of her life pretending to love me, all for a financial payoff. Every memory we had shared was tainted, every intimate moment a lie. The anger came next, a white-hot rage that threatened to consume me. I wanted to confront Amanda immediately, to scream and demand answers, but I knew that would accomplish nothing. She would deny everything, twist my words, make me seem paranoid. She had been manipulating me for 3 years. I needed to be smarter than that. I contacted Sarah Martinez, a tough divorce attorney recommended by Frank. Though we were not yet married, I needed legal advice on how to protect myself, especially given the credit fraud Amanda had already committed. "You are lucky you caught this before the wedding," Sarah told me, after reviewing my evidence. "This is a clear case of fraud, identity theft, and potential blackmail. We can build a strong case against her." "What should I do in the meantime?" I asked. "The wedding is less than 3 weeks away. Guests are flying in. We have deposits on everything." Sarah thought for a moment. "Document everything. Continue gathering evidence. But most importantly, do not let on that you know anything. If she suspects you have discovered her plan, she might destroy evidence or try to take more aggressive actions." Following Sarah's advice, I maintained the charade. I smiled through wedding tastings and nodded along as Amanda discussed honeymoon plans. Each moment was excruciating, but I reminded myself it would all be over soon. I installed security cameras in my apartment and changed all my passwords. I froze my credit and set up alerts for any new accounts. 2 weeks before the wedding, I suggested we discuss a prenuptial agreement. As predicted, Amanda reacted with calculated outrage. "A prenup? After everything we have shared, do you not trust me, Luke?" Her eyes filled with those familiar tears that once moved me, but now only confirmed her deception. "It is just a standard protection," I explained calmly. "My company actually requires it because of my stock options. If you loved me, you would not even consider this. It is like you are planning for us to fail before we even start." I watched her performance with a detachment that must have been noticeable, because she intensified her emotional display, even threatening to call off the wedding. I recorded the entire conversation as further evidence of her manipulation. The final piece of my plan came together at our engagement party scheduled for the Saturday before the wedding. We had booked an elegant rooftop venue overlooking the city with over 200 guests, including family, friends, and colleagues from both sides. It would be the perfect stage. I arranged with the venue's audiovisual team to have access to their system. I compiled a devastating presentation, screenshots of Amanda's secret social media photos of her, with Brian the documented timeline of her scam, and recordings of her discussing her plans. I had everything ready on a USB drive that would connect to the venue's projector system. The evening of the party arrived. Amanda looked stunning in a white designer dress that I had paid for, of course. She played her role perfectly, clinging to my arm as we greeted guests, accepting congratulations with practiced humility. My parents were there, beaming with pride that their son had found such a wonderful woman. Her parents too, though. I wondered if they knew about their daughter's true nature. Midway through the evening after dinner, but before the toasts, I excused myself to check on something with the staff. Instead, I connected my USB drive to the projector system and returned to the party. I clinked my glass to get everyone's attention standing next to the large screen at the front of the room. I want to thank everyone for coming tonight to celebrate our engagement. I began, my voice steady despite my pounding heart. Before we continue, I thought it would be nice to share a special presentation about our journey together. Amanda smiled clearly, having no idea what was coming. I clicked the remote, and instead of romantic photos of our time together, the screen displayed the title, "The Truth About Amanda Carter." The room fell silent as I began to speak. 3 weeks ago, I accidentally overheard a conversation that changed everything I thought I knew about my relationship. Tonight, I want to share what I discovered. I proceeded to show everything piece by devastating piece. The secret Instagram account, the photos with Brian, the document outlining their con artist business model, the recordings of Amanda discussing her plans to trap me, divorce me, and take half my assets. I played the audio of her calling me a rich simp and laughing about how easy I was to manipulate. The gasps from the audience were audible. Amanda's face transformed from confusion to horror to rage within seconds. She lunged toward me, screaming that I was making it all up, that the evidence was fabricated. Security guards I had quietly arranged held her back. "You ruined everything," she shrieked, all pretense abandoned. "You were supposed to be an easy mark." Her unintentional confession silenced the room. Even her parents looked stunned, her mother covering her face in shame. "The wedding is off," I announced calmly. "I have filed reports with the police regarding the identity theft and fraud. I suggest anyone who gave Amanda access to their personal information check their credit immediately." Jessica tried to slip out unnoticed, but I pointed her out. Jessica Davis was part of this con as well. They have done this before to other men, and they would have continued, if not caught. As security escorted Amanda, Jessica, and a few of their friends out, I addressed the remaining guests. "I am sorry you all had to witness this, especially those who traveled far to be here. Please stay and enjoy the rest of the evening. The bar is open, and I could use the company of honest people tonight." My parents rushed to my side, my mother in tears. "I always felt something was off about her," she admitted, "but I thought it was just mother's intuition. I should have said more." "It is not your fault, Mom," I assured her. "She fooled a lot of people. She was very good at what she did. The aftermath was chaotic, but cleansing. I filed police reports detailing Amanda's fraud. I contacted every vendor for the wedding, explaining the situation. Many were sympathetic and offered partial refunds, despite their cancellation policies. I sent brief, honest emails to all invited guests, thanking those who had attended the engagement party for their support, and explaining to others why the wedding would not take place. Amanda was arrested 3 days later, attempting to use one of the fraudulent credit cards she had opened in my name. Brian was picked up the same day. They both faced multiple charges of fraud and identity theft. Jessica cooperated with authorities in exchange for reduced charges, providing details on their previous victims. The months following what should have been my wedding were the darkest of my life. Despite knowing I had escaped a terrible fate, I could not shake the profound sense of betrayal. 3 years of memories were poisoned. I questioned my judgment, my worth, my ability to recognize genuine emotion. I started seeing Dr. Wilson, a therapist specializing in trauma and betrayal. Our weekly sessions became a lifeline as I processed the anger and grief that threatened to consume me. "What you are experiencing is similar to grief," Dr. Wilson explained during one session. "You are mourning the relationship you thought you had, the future you had planned. That loss is real, even if the relationship was based on deception." I threw myself into work, taking on additional projects to fill the endless hours. Sleep eluded me, and when it came, nightmares of Amanda laughing at my gullibility jolted me awake. Friends invited me out, but socializing felt exhausting. How could I trust anyone after being so thoroughly deceived? Justin and David, the friends who had tried to warn me, never said "I told you so." Instead, they showed up consistently dragging me to basketball games, insisting I join their weekend hikes, refusing to let me isolate myself completely. "You will get through this," Justin assured me during a grueling trail run 6 months after the failed wedding. "But you have to keep moving forward." Slowly, painfully, I began to heal. I sold my condo, unable to remain in a space filled with memories of Amanda. I found a new place across town, smaller, but with no emotional baggage attached. I donated the furniture we had chosen together and started fresh with a minimalist aesthetic that felt clean and honest. 9 months post-Amanda, I received a job offer from a tech startup in Seattle. The opportunity to leave San Francisco and all its painful associations behind was exactly what I needed. Within 3 weeks, I had relocated, ready for a genuine fresh start. Seattle welcomed me with its distinctive charm, so different from the frenetic energy of San Francisco. I rented an apartment overlooking Lake Union and developed new routines. Morning runs along the waterfront, weekend hikes in the nearby mountains, cooking classes where I finally learned to prepare meals more complex than protein shakes and microwave dinners. Through a community volunteer program, I met a diverse group of people committed to helping others. Among them was Sophia, a pediatrician who had moved to Seattle after her own divorce 2 years prior. Unlike Amanda, who commanded attention with practiced charm, Sophia had a quiet authenticity that drew people in naturally. We started as friends, volunteering together at a medical clinic for underserved communities. There was no calculated seduction, no whirlwind romance. Just two people sharing coffee after volunteer shifts, discussing books, debating the best hiking trails, gradually revealing their true selves. When Sophia mentioned dating 3 months into our friendship, I froze. "I am not sure I am ready for that," I admitted then. Found myself sharing the entire Amanda saga. Sophia listened without interruption, her expression reflecting genuine empathy rather than the calculated sympathy I had grown wary of. When I finished, she simply said, "That explains a lot about how careful you are with people. Thank you for trusting me with your story." We did eventually date, but with a transparency that felt revolutionary. After my experience with Amanda, Sophia insisted on paying for herself from the start. "I want to be with you because of who you are, not what you can give me," she explained on our first official date. The contrast between this relationship and my time with Amanda could not have been more stark. Where Amanda had been all flash and performance, Sophia was substance and authenticity. She did not need designer everything or constant validation. She found joy in simple pleasures and challenged me to do the same. 1 year after moving to Seattle, I used my experience to start a nonprofit organization providing resources and support to victims of romantic fraud. We created educational materials about red flags in relationships and offered legal guidance for those entangled in similar situations. The work became another important part of my healing process. I learned that Amanda and Brian had both served time for fraud, with Amanda receiving a 3-year sentence. The knowledge brought not satisfaction but a sense of justice for all their victims. I no longer felt anger when thinking of her, just a profound gratitude for the bullet I had dodged and the lessons I had learned. Those lessons were invaluable. I discovered that genuine love does not demand constant financial proof. Real connection grows stronger through honest communication, not manipulation. True partners want to build a life together, not extract value from each other. Most importantly, I learned that while trust can be broken, it can also be rebuilt stronger and wiser than before. My experience with Amanda did not make me bitter or closed off permanently. Instead, it taught me to trust more intelligently, to pay attention to actions over words, and to value substance over appearance. If you have ever had your trust betrayed, know that healing is possible. The pain does not disappear completely, but it transforms into wisdom that can guide you toward more authentic connections. The right people will understand your caution and earn your trust patiently, without manipulation or pressure. Have you ever discovered someone was not who they claimed to be? How did you handle it? Share your experiences in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more stories of overcoming betrayal and finding genuine connection. Thank you for listening, and remember, sometimes the greatest gift is discovering the truth before it is too late.